The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Jesus said, "What is the kingdom of God like? To what can I compare it? It is like a mustard seed that a man took and planted in the garden. When it was fully grown, it became a large bush, and the birds of the sky dwelt in its branches." Again he said, "To what shall I compare the kingdom of God? It is like yeast that a woman took and mixed in with 3 measures of wheat flour until the whole batch of dough was leavened." The Gospel of the Lord.
I have seen situations that this first reading from St. Paul's letter to the Ephesians was edited because people didn't like to hear it. I've seen churches, Catholic churches, it was edited. So you don't need to hear somebody subordinate to the subordinate. What are those words like? Subordinate? But because you see, we are so fast in trying to do our own desires. So fast. And you know, when things like that happen, you just see pain, misery, and people still ask, why are we not happy? Why are we not joyful? Because we want to do your will. God didn't send us here to do our will. Subordination to one another out of reverence for Christ is a complete statement. Out of reverence for Christ. We are in the world not to do our own will. At least not to behave like Adam and Eve who did their own will. Because if we do that, then we're continuing the era of original sin. And sometimes I've had to preach, here in America, you say, happy home, happy wife, happy home, happy wife. And I say it's not true. Because if you have a Beelzebub or Jezebel as a wife, can never be happy. It's not possible. Can never be happy. You just continue feeding it until he eats you up. That's all. No. Reverence for Christ is the reason. Marriage is a hinge. Marriage is institution. Marriage is created by God and must follow the laws of God. It's like a company. A company created for a particular vision must live according to his vision. When it does not live according to his vision, what happens? It dies out. Maybe some other company comes up, but that one dies out. Out of reverence for Christ, we submit to ourselves, husband and wife. And husband is head. It's not like, look, people say, first century Roman Empire. Say first century Palestine. No. We're in the 21st century. Come off it. And the 21st century. The laws of God are no respecter of times. The laws of God are immutable, unchanging according to time. And when St. Paul compares Christ and the church as husband and wife, Christ died for the church. People don't go there to say the husband literally dies for his family. Dies. Meaning, he doesn't take I'm head and so every command of mine is law. No, that's not how Christ runs the church. Christ even gives the opportunity for people to say their views. Yet, for those who love God, we discover along the trajectory of our relationship with Jesus that when I do my will, I end up this way. When I do Christ's will, it goes very well for me. So why not? It may be difficult. It's a level of responsibility that I have to go. Then I try as much as possible to do God's will. And when you do that, it's always good. Christ died for the church. So the church continues in obedience to Christ. Because the life we have now is not our life anymore. Christ has given it to us. Between husband and wives, therefore, husbands should love. That word, love their wives. Love their wives. And one who loves continues to die to self, forget the self, in order to concentrate on what and then, when the husband loves the wife in that way, that word called submission and humility from wife to the husband is natural, it's a given. So we don't have husbands who are, on the same tempo of arguments with their wife, on the same tempo. That's not it. It shouldn't work. Only that, selfishness is so strong in our society today. And so, we try as much as possible to get even. We want to win. The little kids are told to win, to win, to win. You know how Christ won, didn't you? Christ won by submitting to the will of his Father and died on the cross. And to everybody, it seemed that he has lost the battle. How do you think that we put the cross in the church, an emblem of defeat in the church? Why? If we are supposed to be winners, like we want to win, why do we have an emblem of defeat in the church? It is because through this defeat, the greatest victory was won. That means humility is the path to victory. Difference to Christ is the path to victory. Seeking the happiness and the joy of the other is the path to victory. But when we want to acquire and want to expand our estate and want to be proud and arrogant and expand our own, territory beyond any other person, what happens? We destroy ourselves, we destroy the one before us, and yet there's no happiness, there's no joy. Difference, humility, reverence, and all is done for the sake of Christ. Giving in arguments, even when you think that you're right. Giving. Speak less about yourself. Those are the key that Teresa of Calcutta. Speak less about yourself, and then allow and advance. Take the difficult route rather than the cheap one or the easy one. Those are all steps towards humility. Praying for your spouse, praying for your children, rather than just accumulating and thinking of yourself. Those are the path to true humility. And then the growth in the Lord will continue to increase. Whatever we give and surrender in the name of Christ, we get it 100-fold. Because he is a God who gives in abundance. And that's why when Jesus is making an example of the mustard seed, it's little. The little we give every day continues to expand the kingdom of God, continues to expand the kingdom of God even in our homes, in our families. And that's how the yeast is. You put a little yeast in the flour and it begins to well up. A little sacrifice, a little dose of humility, a little dose of selflessness, and the kingdom of God begins to what? To expand in our environment, in our community, in our families, in our churches. Because I tell you what, In many instances, everybody is a boss. Everybody wants to act like a boss. And if you are in charge of that little space, you make a big drama around it. So everybody knows you are in charge. Like in charge. If we go that way, we would not have changed the conditioning and the mental mind, the mentality of the culture that we have. The culture of our world must be transformed with the culture of Jesus Christ, which reigns on selflessness, which reigns on humility, which reigns of giving way, deference because of Jesus Christ. That's the pathway of expanding the kingdom of God. Let us rise and pray. Heavenly Lord, we come before you praying for our Holy Father, Pope Francis,